G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I go about selecting the right club for the shot in GS Pro. So I'm talking about how I calculate uphill, downhill yardages, how I take the wind into account. All of these little things are going to add up to give me a overall target yardage that I'm trying to hit in the virtual world. If you don't plan all these things, if you just grab a club and hit it, you're not really setting yourself up to give yourself the best chance to execute and hit a good shot. So there's a bunch of different factors that you have to take into account whenever you're playing simulator golf, as well as golf outdoors. It's the exact same. So you can literally, if you take these rules and apply them outside, you will be more accurate. You're setting yourself up for success. Elevation, wind, uphill, downhill, all of these things, slope, all of these things are going to come into account and give you a plays-like yardage. And that's what we see companies like Garmin doing with their plays-like yardage. They're taking all this information in, applying these algorithms, and then they're going to give you a distance based on, what it's going to play like. All right, so let me turn on a bit of wind because I've got no wind on at the moment. And we'll turn on breezy wind to make it a little bit harder. So for the purpose of this video, I'm out at Tobacco Road. Let's just get our ball and go and place it down there by the green. Let's say we've hit, maybe not there. We'll go into our actual fairway. We're 101 yards from this pin. Okay, so how I would approach this shot is I'm going to hit the J key, and that's going to zoom me into the green. Then I'm going to hit the Y key on my keyboard. That's going to bring up the heat map or the contour map. From there, I'm going to use whatever greens I've got, I'm going to apply the rollout, I guess, for the shot. So I've got 101 yards. For this shot, with the wind coming out of the left, I'll aim a little bit to the left. We've got slope as well going left to right. So I'll look at the slope, look at the wind, and I'll kind of make a judgment of where I think I need to aim it based on the wind. Once I've got my, X-axis sorted, now I'm going to work on Y-axis, back to front. So 101 yards. I know with a shot like this, I've got normal greens. With a wedge, I'm going to get about 5 to 7 yards rollout, just roughly. So let's play at 5 yards. So right now, I've got my land point. I want the ball to hit the green. It won't hit the green there because the wind's going to push it across, but I want the ball to hit the green roughly there, maybe a little bit to the right because the wind's going to push it. That's what I do first. So I've got 95 yards now. The wind to me isn't really going to affect the yardage. It's kind of a crosswind. So I really don't need to take that into account unless I'm going to play a big fade. If you're going to play a big fade, the wind's going to help it a little bit. But to me, playing a dead straight neutral shot, the wind is not going to affect this. So I can essentially go, right, the wind is not a factor. What I've got to look at now, I'll go back to the ball. I'll hit J and Y again. I'll just bring up the scorecard. With the T key, I can't because I'm in on-course practice. So what I'd look at then is elevation. So if we go into the settings menu, what we can see is the course setup is 358 feet. So course elevation for this shot really isn't going to affect it. When I start taking an elevation is when it gets to around that 1,000 foot. For every 1,000 foot of elevation, you're going to hit the ball 2% further, or it's going to carry 2% further. And that's the exact algorithm that Garmin is using, to the best of my knowledge, when they do their plays like distance. So for this, it'll carry a tiny bit further, but it's so small that realistically, I don't need to take it into account. So we've got course elevation as 558 feet. We don't really need to take that into account. Like I said, for every 1,000 foot, play it 2% further carry distance. Okay, so elevation and wind on this shot are really not going to affect it. Now, what I've got to look at as well is my lie. I'm on a 2% right lie, and I've got wind coming across, and I've also got the green going that way. So I do need to aim this a bit further right than I think. Because I'm hitting a high lofted shot though, the lie itself being 2% right isn't going to really affect it as much. So it will affect it on longer shots. So shots where you're hitting, say, a, 8 iron and above, so like a 6 iron. When you get to 4 iron, the lie will really affect where it takes off. But because I'm hitting it so high, it shouldn't really affect this shot. So for this, I've basically got a shot where the lie is going to affect it a little bit. I'm on a little bit of a downslope, so it'll go a little bit further. So I'll take maybe a yard or two off. I've got the wind, which is now swirling. It might affect me a little bit, but I'm not taking the wind into account. not taking the elevation into account. So I've got a shot that's going to come out right, and I want to effectively land it about 93 to 95 yards. So that's the shot that I've got. Now I need to execute. So we look at our wedge matrix, and I've got all my, I'll make this big screen for you. So what I do is I've got my wedge matrix, and I can see all my yardages there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 95 yards, what's closest to that. I can hit a 3/4 plus 60 degree, but because the pin's at the back, I don't want to be flying it and spinning it, because if it goes off the back of the green, it's going to be lost over the back of the green. So for this shot, it's quite a hard shot for me now, because I want to use a higher club, like a 56, 52. I've got a 52 shot. You can see my left arm parallel shot with a 52 is 91.5 yards. So that's kind of the shot that I think I'm going to play. Because I'm using a 52 as well, it should roll out a little bit more. So we'll go 52. And now I've got to execute. So I know exactly what I'm trying to do. Now I actually have to execute the shot, which is the hard part. So I'm going to go left arm parallel. And if I do this correctly, it should give me around 92 yards carry. Okay, 92.5. I blocked it a little bit, but you can see that wasn't a bad shot. It was pretty good for distance. The total length was 102. I did have a cut, so a right spin axis, and the wind took it a bit. So that shot there, it was pretty good execution, but I just cut it a little bit, and that's why the wind took it, and that's why I ended up right. But you can see the distance was pretty good. I was within 1.3 yards of the actual flag distance, so really happy with that. You can't be too upset with that, to be honest. Okay, let's go to another hole. Okay, so we're on the 13th hole now. I've got 158 yards uphill, and I'm into the wind. So the first thing I'll do, hit the J and the Y key, and I'm going to assess where I want to land this ball. So for this shot, it's just a tough shot. Realistically, I could try and land it there and just creep it onto the green, but I don't want to mess with these hills. So I'm just going to land this pretty much at the flag, and then it'll go to the back of the green. I'll have a putt coming back down the hill. Hopefully it might roll down the hill a little bit, so fingers crossed. So I'm going to try and land this there, 156 yards. Again, I look at my lie. I've got 2.9 degrees left, and I'm also on a downhill lie. So it's going to come out lower, which is going to make this quite hard. So I've got to aim a little bit to the right because it's going to come out left. So I'll aim there. And now I'm going to take into account wind and elevation. So 156, I'm going to get my phone because it's got the calculator on there. And I'm going to go 156. For each mile an hour of wind, I'm playing as 1% when it's into the wind. When it's downwind, I'm playing about 0.5%. So for this shot, now it's kind of come cross breeze. I'm just going to add 6% to this shot because I think if the wind is 10 miles an hour at that oblique, angle, I think it'll be about 6% a hurt. If it swirls back into me, hopefully it dies to about 6%, which gives me 165 yards to that land location. Now, I know that elevation isn't going to, I know that the elevation, the actual altitude isn't going to affect this shot. So I can disregard that. One thing I forgot to do though, was 156. I am 5 yards uphill. So this is going to be 161. So for every yard uphill, I just add it to the total. So I got 156 plus 5, 161, and then I'm going to add 6% to that is 170. So I've got a 170 yard shot. It's probably better to be long. The wind is kind of picked up. So I'm going to hit a punch 7 iron. Punch is probably not ideal because I'm hitting off a downhill lie, but I think that's the best shot that I've got. So let's go a punch 7 iron. This should hopefully land about 170 yards and then give me a putt from the back of the green. Oh, I didn't hit it good. That's only gone 160. But I tell you what, I got lucky on that shot. So that's one of the shots where you get lucky. So you can see my carry raw was 159.6. It was 10 yards short of my carry. If I did carry at 170, it should land middle to back of the green, which is where I was trying to land it. And then leave me a putt down the hill. Okay, better strike. And that's the shot I was trying to execute the first time. So you'll see it land in the middle and then hopefully funnel back a little bit, but it's going to give me a downhill putt. And that's the intent. So sometimes you can't, as much as you want to, you can't fire at every flag. So for every mile an hour of wind, I'm playing as 1%. That's when it's into. Okay, so we're here at the 16th now. We've got 111 yards up the hill with downwind. So 111 already. What I like to do is I personally like to pick my land point first before I add or subtract how uphill or downhill it is. So we'll go 111. I want to land this. Now, this green is diabolical. Let me just show you this green, because if I go up there, you'll see there's a massive contour. And if you're short of this contour on the green, you can guarantee that you're going to come all the way back down. So there's the contour. You can see that. I'll try and move off to the side so I can really show you this contour. So that's the contour on the green. So we have to carry it above this contour. Ideally, I want to land it almost at the flag and then use this as a backstop. So now we know that. And this is why playing courses, you know, and getting to know them is good, because otherwise you'd be aiming short and you'd roll back down the hill. So we've got 111 yards, and I'll turn my heat map on. You can see that everything feeds back towards the pin. It's going to come out left slightly, 0.2 of a degree, so it's negligible. The wind might push it a little bit though, so we'll aim just inside that gimme circle. And for this, I actually want to carry it to the hole. So I could potentially say 110 is my yardage, make the math easy. So 110 minus 8 is 102. So 102 is my carry yardage so far. We've got wind now that's kind of down at an angle. So I really don't want to take off too much, because again, I don't want to come up short. So if we go 102, we'll take off 3%, which is going to be 99. So I've got 99 yards to my land point. I'm on a slight downhill slope, and it's going to come out slightly left. So that's my shot. So 99. I'm just going to play a 3/4 56, because that is my 100-yard shot. So you'll see there, I've got 100 yards as my 3/4 shot for my 56. And so we're going to go with that. And hopefully that's the right club. Oh, I did the math wrong. I subtracted 8 yards instead of adding 8 yards, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. Let's just do that math again. I'm pretty sure I subtracted, what did I say, 110. I need to plus 8, not subtract. And this is where it can get you. So because I'm in on-course practice, I don't have the actual yardage up there. I can't look at it. So I'm uphill 8, so 118 yards. Okay, we're getting there. So 118, we'll take off, what do we say, 3%, I think it was. It's kind of turned. Let's take off 4%, is 113. So new shot I'm going to be hitting is my 3/4 52, which if I show you this, is 112 yards carry. So now I've got to hit a 112-yard carry shot. So let's execute that. And all the time now, I'm just looking at the wind and going, that has picked up significantly, and it's swirled. Now we're dead downwind. So I don't know if I want to hit this too hard, to be honest. All right, let's hit a 112-yard shot. And hopefully we can execute. Oh, I backed off it. I backed off it because I saw the wind, and now I've done the cardinal sin that I said not to. I've left it short. And we just didn't execute. We had the right shot that we needed to play. We just did not execute. Let's try that again. Pulled it that time, but that's going to be good for yardage. Now watch this. Use that back slope. That's what we were trying to do. So even though I pulled that, because I hit the correct yardage, it's ended up being a really, really good shot. So we calculated it correct the second time. Thank goodness we realized before we pulled the trigger. But that's how I'd play that shot. So downwind, for every mile an hour, I'm kind of playing it 0.5%, maybe 0.75%. It's not really going to be the same as into the wind. Into the wind is easy, it's 1%. It's 1% per mile an hour. When you're downwind, especially outside, it plays about 0.5%. And with your wedges, it actually stops the ball from reaching its apex. So when you're dead downwind, more often than not, the wind can actually hold the ball down and push the ball flight down a bit. Okay, let's do one more. Let's go to 18. We'll hit a longer shot in now. So we got, let's do it even longer. Okay, so we've got 160 yards. We're downwind again, so this is going to be a tough shot. So again, first thing I do is I'll go to the pin and I'll pick out where I want to land this shot. So 159, I'm going to get about 8 to 9 yards of rollout. I know that just from practice. And also, go to the Joe Lagasse Golf driving range and figure out on normal greens how far your ball runs out with each club, on firm greens, hard greens. That's what you got to do. If you really want to get good at figuring out your distances, you need to know how far the ball's going to roll out. So I'm picking my land point again. So we're going to pick the land point about 150-ish, 151, around there somewhere. That looks good. Looking at my lie, I'm on a downhill lie, so I'm going to take a yard off it. And then also I'm 2% to the left, so I need to aim a little right. But looking at the wind, I think the wind's going to kind of counteract that. So I'm just going to aim straight. So I've got 150 yards to my land point. Now I've got to take the wind into account. So 150, if we play the wind, I'm going to say, I'm going to take off 4%. Now the reason for that is because it's going to swirl and I think it's going to end up around 7 or 8. And so playing it at 4% is half of that. So I think that's a good mix. And this is not perfect science. Like you're going to have to just kind of guesstimate to the best of your ability. So 144 is my carry yardage for this shot. This is a tough shot. So I've got to execute, I've got to hit this 144 yards. And if I can do that, hopefully we'll hit a shot close to the green. Now for club selection, with my 9-iron, I've got a 3/4 shot that carries 143. So if I can execute this shot, it should be perfect. All right, so I got 9-iron. We're going a 3/4 shot. That's pretty good. And look at this shot. That is an absolutely fantastic shot. So 1.8 yards from the hole. You can see my carry yardage was exactly 1.8 yards too long. So if I would have hit my 143 yard shot, it would have been spot on. Okay, what about if I had elevation? Let's go to a different golf course. All right, if you haven't played Sanctuary, just go and play it. This is such a fun course. What you'll notice with this course is we've got a massive amount of elevation. Course elevation 6,800 feet. So let's go play Sanctuary. Let me make sure I'm opening this in on-course practice, actually. Just treat yourself, go and play Sanctuary. Honestly, it is such a fun course. Okay, so we've got normal greens, normal fairways. Make sure when you do this, like I said, you need to know how far each club is going to roll out with each green surface. So I calibrate my rounds on normal. Generally for me, for my apex, for my descent angle, for my spin rates, I'll generally get about 5 yards rollout with a wedge. And then when I'm using my long irons, it goes out to about 10 or 11, 12 yards. So for a 7-iron for me, it's about 10 yards rollout I'll get on normal greens, 9 to 10 yards. I know that because I've gone and practiced on my range and actually done each club and seen how far the ball rolls out. So if you want to get good at this, you need to know you're calculating land point, and then from there, you need to know how the green's going to react for your clubs. Now, the physics have changed in GS Pro, which is annoying because I went and did all my calibrations with GS Pro on the old physics. Now the physics have been slightly updated, so it's slightly different. I need to go do it again, but it does take a lot of time and effort to do that. Okay, so out here at Sanctuary, let's go drop our ball down here in the fairway. Okay, so this is a good shot. Let's add a bit of wind. Let's really make this hard. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of all these, the course options. I much prefer it in one page. Let's go breezy just to make this really hard. So, okay, we've got 148 yards down the hill. So again, first thing I do is hit J and Y. I want to pick out my land point. So I'm going to be hitting what? Maybe about a 9-iron into this hole, maybe a wedge. So I'm going to get about 5 or 6 yards roll out. So automatically I'm thinking I need to land it about there, 142. Because I'm slightly into the wind, it'll run out a little bit less. So let's just say 140. Yeah, let's say 142. I like that. Looking at the lie now, it's going to come out slightly left. So I'm going to aim slightly right. And then I've got wind kind of into. It's not really going to affect anything. So look, I think that looks pretty good. I'm on a downhill lie. Probably take a couple of yards off. So 140 is my land point. The next thing I do now is I put that 140 into my calculator, and then I'm going to go, right, what have we got for wind? Wind swirling. It's kind of tough. I'm going to say it's going to play around. Now it's turning a little bit. I'm going to play around, let's go 5% for the wind. So I'm going to take off 5%, and that's going to equal 133. Now it's at 10. This is what makes it hard. And then we've got 7,000 feet, give or take, of elevation. So for each for each 1,000 feet, it's going to play 2% shorter. So I need to take off for this shot 14%, which is just nuts. So if we take off 14%, that's going to equal 114, 115. So quite a tough shot. We're playing a 115-yard shot to a flag that's 140 yards away. And now I'm just second guessing myself. Did I subtract the wind or did I add the wind? So let me do that again. 140, we're adding 6%, call it for the wind, 148, and then we're taking off 14%. Okay, that makes more sense. 127. So I got 127. I must have taken off the wind before. 127 to my land point. The numbers get so confusing. I've forgotten it was downhill as well. So now I've got to do it again. 141, take off 7 yards because we're downhill. Take off 14% for the wind, and then add 6% for the wind. Sorry, take off 14% for the elevation, add 6% for the wind. This shot is 122 yards. It gets confusing. 122, I'm going to hit a solid gap wedge. And I don't know if this is going to get there because into that wind, it's going to be tough. Let's hit like a little 3/4 pitching wedge. This is a 124-yard shot. So I'll hit this, hopefully land at about 124 as a raw carry, and it should be the correct distance. We've just got to execute. $122, that should be pretty good. It's a little short, but I tell you what, I'll take that as a result. Absolutely take that. That was probably confusing for you. It was confusing for me. Let's go to a new hole. Okay, we're at the 6th hole. Let's go through this now. So I've got 170 yards. This is going to have about 10 yards of rollout, which this is where it gets hard because I'm now landing it in the fairway, but because the fairway is normal, we should be okay. So I'm going to land it in the fairway. If I actually click, I can see which way this fairway is going to bounce as well. So I'm just going to aim a little left because the fairway is going to kick the ball to the right. So we want to land this about 162 yards just in the fairway, and it should bounce on and roll up to the pin. Let's just check. We're slightly downhill, but not much. So 2 yards downhill. So we'll take that into account. So we want to land this about 160-ish then, say. So 160, we're going to take off 5% for the wind because I think it's going to gust, which it kind of is. So I'll take off, let's go 4%. And then I've got to take off 12 or 14%. For this shot, I'm just getting a feeling like if I hit this 132, it's going to come up short. So I'm going to hit this as a stock pitching wedge, which is a 136-yard shot. It is going to come in higher with a steeper descent angle. So I think a pitching wedge should get there, just a stock standard 136-yard pitching wedge. Hopefully the wind doesn't turn too much. It's kind of crosswind now. So I'm going to have to hit this good to get it there, I think. Probably end up a bit short. Oh, wind's picked up. That should be good. Yeah, it's just a little to the right. But in terms of distance, it was the correct distance. So stock pitching wedge. Luckily, the wind picked up just when we hit, which meant that it got there. I just pushed it a little bit. It looks like, yeah, it came out slightly right. And I think the wind just pushed it a bit that way. So I needed to aim a little bit more to the left. When I originally was planning that shot, it had it more direct downwind. But yeah, that ended up being a really good shot on the green. You can see there, raw carry for me, stock pitching wedge, 136, and then it rolled up on the green, which was 171.5 yards. So we were half a yard short. Okay, let's go do one more. We'll do a little wedge shot. We've got, this is a fun hole, the 17th, because you can pretty much drive the green because it's got so much elevation. Okay, let's go over to the left-hand side. Now, this shot, you can see, is 10 yards or 9 yards downhill. So again, I'm going to go to the green. I'm going to pick my land point. So I want to land it about there. I reckon 82.5 yards will be perfect. So it's going to come out left, but then the wind's going to push it. So again, I'm just going to aim pretty straight. 82 yards with 10 yards downhill. So that's going to be, what, 72 yards. Wind, look, I'll put it in my calculator here. 72 yards. We're going to take off 3% for the wind. So that's 69, call it 70 yards. Then we got the elevation. Now these shots, because we're hitting such a short shot, the elevation doesn't really affect it as much. So I'll take off, say, 10% for the elevation. So that's 62 yards effective distance. 62. So let's get our lob wedge out. And for me, 62 yards, and I'll show this to you guys. I've got my wedge matrix. So 62 yards. I've got a 67 yard shot with my 60 degree, which is my left arm parallel. So I'm pretty much just going to go slightly under left arm parallel as a feel. What it'll look like on camera is my left arm will get to parallel, if not beyond. So I'm trying to get my left arm right there in this swing. .67 yards. And you can see, perfect distance. So yeah, those shots, because the ball is not in the air for very long, the altitude, it just doesn't affect it as much. But yeah, guys, that is how I calculate shots. That's how I play shots. There's a lot more to it. Like if you want to get good at this, you actually have to go to a driving range. You have to see how far your ball rolls out on certain greens, certain stimps. There's a lot that goes into it. And then also you need to get yourself a pretty good matrix. I mean, mine goes all the way down to my 8 iron, almost down to my 6 iron. I've got a few yardages I need to fill in. Get yourself a good matrix. And the thing is, these change as well. Like when your swing changes, when you're not hitting it as good, these things change. So you need to be constantly on top of it, updating it. But yeah, that's it. That's how I calculate my yardages in GS Pro. I hope that helps you guys. I hope that helps you guys. If it does, definitely let me know. If you've got any comments or questions, leave them down below and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.